My very nice close friend, who's such a nice person, decided to sleep with my boyfriend.
Ivana, can't we just talk? I'm hit.
I have it. I have the money. I literally have the money right here in my hand. I'm looking at it.
I disagree.
If you couldn't dance, what would you do? Suicide?
One more week of 8th grade, right?
Yeah.
You're like a brother to me. Oh, you're my best friend in the whole world.
Happy Thursday, moviegoers. Welcome to this bonus edition. Welcome to this episode. Welcome to the Cine-Men movie podcast. I'm your host, Juan, and I'm joined here by Ed.
Hey, what's up, folks? It's been a little bit.
So, welcome to this new episode. This episode 1, really. I don't know if you want to call it an episode 1, but welcome to our second show of the week, as this is the first episode of the A24 series.
Yes.
That we are going to be dropping every single Thursday. A little bit different from the other show that we put out on Mondays. This episode is completely ad-free. And we're just going to be sitting here hanging out, shooting the shit, talking some A24 movies.
Well, which one are we doing specifically, though, this week?
Today, we are talking about Swiss Army Man. It has a IMDb rating of 7. Rotten Tomatoes sits at 72%, and the Metascore is 64%. The budget was $3 million. Let's take a look at this right quick.
Yeah.
We're gonna jump right in. A $3 million budget, and you get a movie like this. Think about what that says about the egos of Paul Dano, Daniel Radcliffe, and think about what that says of A24. They can put a movie like this together with $3 million budget. Some movies, $3 million budget can't even cover somebody's
salary.
Somebody's salary.
Yeah.
Think about that.
I mean,
a $3 million budget, and it grossed almost $6 million. So it doubled its money back. But A24 is not about that. A24, guys, what we're talking about, and this is going to be a series that's going to take us through the whole summer. So every Thursday, sit down, buckle up, and listen to just a great conversation about an A24 movie for the next 6 weeks.
Pretty much. And I mean, it's not really that y'all have been asking for more content. So we're like, okay, what can we do to go ahead and not only make them happy, but kind of get our own little series kind of things going? Because you're a big fan of A24. You've got a lot of their movies, if not all of them for that matter, or very close to. So you introduced me to A24, of course, a while back. And I think I've watched one movie besides that. I don't really know which one, but I've watched multiple now. So, I mean, there's differences between a lot of different studios. You said that A24 isn't truly about the money. I mean, of course, they're in it to make money, but at the same time, they're making quality movies that are not, I'm going to say, not your typical
They're
movie.
not your typical movie, but by all means, these movies are not for everybody.
They're artistic, too.
Yeah.
And I mean, that's the big thing. That's the difference about them. They're artistic. They have different meanings. They have different thoughts and looks. And I mean, they're starting to get some bigger names for that matter. You know, so I mean, like Steven Yeun in Minari now. I mean, Adam Sandler, for God's sake. I mean, yeah, whether you love him, you hate him, or you're just, he's cool. That's a big name. Daniel Radcliffe in his own right is a decent sized name.
Well, let's talk about that, because we're talking. You know, today we are talking Swiss Army Man, which stars. So let's talk about that. We are talking Daniel Radcliffe, Paul Dano.
Yeah.
And it's not a very big cast. Mary Elizabeth is in it. She plays Sarah.
I don't even think, truthfully, there's more than like 15, 20 people tops, and that's including like all the paramedics and stuff.
Richard Gross, the dad. Timothy Elshon plays Preston. And then, really though, this movie is about Paul Dano. How
Yeah.
we'll read the synopsis for you
Yeah.
guys. A hopeless man stranded on a desert island befriends a dead body, and together they go on a surreal journey to get home. And literally, that's what the movie is. But it's more about Paul Dano's, I think, personally, his search to find himself to get back home.
Probably, because I mean, honestly, like you start out and he's pretty much knocked out. Like he's out.
No, the
he-
movie starts off
or-
with him getting ready to hang himself.
No, that is right.
Yeah.
Oh, okay, Daniel Radcliffe's just
Daniel
on
Radcliffe's
the
body
beach
gets
and-
washed up onto the beach.
Yeah.
And Paul Dano is literally about to hang himself, and almost successfully does, because he does start hanging and choking.
Yeah.
And then boom, it snaps, and he goes to look for the dead body.
Yep.
Um,
Kind of saves him in a way from being swept out into the ocean.
so
again.
believe it or not, with me loving A24, this was my first full sit down watch of it. I have seen it before, but I didn't finish it, and never got back to it.
Right.
So this was my first full time sit down watch of it. Ed, I'm guessing it's the same with you.
Yes. Even though I'm a Daniel Radcliffe fan for that matter, yeah, this is
Talk
the
a
first
little
time.
bit about him being in this role. When you first, I mean, don't give away the whole movie yet, but like when you first started watching, what did you think?
Well, okay.
What were you expecting going in?
Okay, you got to understand the title. Okay, simply the title. I thought he was like some weird, and I mean, okay, it's giving a little bit away, anyways. But I thought he was some guy that had some weird ass powers. Like honestly, I didn't know he played a corpse. I did not know that. Which you find that out within like a minute of watching the film, or of when it starts at least. But with all the
And if you guys hear
You know.
any noise in the background, we are literally in like thunderstorm watch and tornado warning. So
yeah,
just a heads up, bear with us. But we put our lives on the line out there for you guys. So listen in.
it's a regular Oklahoma day here.
Yeah.
We nighters, what are those? I mean windstorms. Either way, so literally with him playing that, basically I kind of was like, okay, Swiss Army man, Swiss Army knife, as all kinds of little tools and aspects of it and all that. Okay, so obviously he's got to do a lot of different things. So it's kind of like, I don't know if it's more like you think it's going to be like, okay, what can the writers come up with, and what can the effects crew come up with to match that, and then present that as, oh, he just has this ability, or is it like you have a manual, to like use the guy or something? So I mean,
So going into this movie, I knew what to expect because I'd seen like the first half of it. But with it being an A24 movie, there's hardly any A24 movies that I don't like.
right,
We'll go over some of those throughout this series. So this series starts today, June the 3rd on a Thursday, and we're literally going to cover an A24 movie every single week until August the 12th, when we talk about the brand new A24 movie, The Green Knight.
right,
So that will conclude this A24 series. And then just to spin and talk a little brief about this podcast and what we're going to do here is, we're talking A24 until August 15th. August 15th is over. We will get into, and I don't know what that is going to be yet, but it will still continue to be a weekly Thursday podcast. We could talk about
pretty much, yeah,
a Fast 9, or we could talk about the Fast and the Furious franchise. We could talk about a Friday the 13th franchise, and every week we will talk about the movie in that franchise.
yeah,
We could have a 4-week podcast on the Transformers movies.
yeah,
But this is, if you guys want the official title, this is the Cine-Men podcast presents the It series.
yeah.
Whether it be A24 or MGM. MGM just got done selling to Amazon for almost $9 billion.
Man, it was crazy. A couple weeks ago, I was actually staying at the MGM Grand out in Vegas.
So we'll talk about that. But yeah, as far as like a whole 2.5 hour episode, you guys aren't going to get that with this podcast. You guys are going to get us just talking about the movie, the cast, the meaning behind the movie, whether it be for 45 minutes or an hour. Or an hour and a half. It doesn't matter. But we have no ads. There's going to be no ads on this show. This is an ad-free show. You guys can hear all of those ads and all of our top fives every week on the original on the Cine-Men Movie Podcast on Mondays that drop every Monday. So yeah, let's get ready. But speaking of where you can find all of our content, you can find us on the Facebook page at facebook.com/movie reels REELZ 405, or just Facebook search the Cine-Men Movie Podcast and we pop right up.
Yep.
There you will find our link tree. The link tree has everything: YouTube, Spotify, Anchor. We're now officially on iHeartRadio.
Yep.
We're on Pandora. We are on Amazon Music. So wherever you get your podcast from, you can find us and you can search us. We also have the Black Widow giveaway coming up in just a few weeks, July. You can win all kinds of prizes. So keep an eye out for that on the Facebook page. The Instagram is one word, Cine-Men Movie Podcast. And then the Twitter is at Cine-Men405. And Ed, before we get right back into Swiss Army Man, where can they find the YouTube page?
So you go to that facebook.com/movie reels 405. Basically hit that learn more button at the top of the page. That will transport you over to the YouTube channel. So go ahead and hit that comment button. Go ahead and leave us a little note. Hit that subscribe button, that like button, or dislike button, either way, as well as that little notification bell to be let known of every single episode that drops, including these, as well as our little kind of basically our side projects, as well as
we have
the main
unboxings.
Yep.
All kinds of unboxing coming up soon, and especially the whole month of July is packed.
Yeah.
So you guys are now going to get a brand new episode every Monday and every Thursday. Double dose of the Cine-Men Movie Podcast. Let's talk about Swiss Army Man. When he hangs himself the first time and the cord snaps, I have this thing. I always like to think and look behind the camera.
Yeah.
I always like to almost fantasy book and fantasy play as I'm watching the movie. What if Paul Dano died when he hung himself, and all that was just
fantasy
not
booking
a dream,
itself.
Yeah. Not a dream, but just
regrets he had in life, because I mean he never gone up to that girl.
And he talked about it in the movie.
Yeah.
Usually I thought my life was supposed to flash before my eyes.
Yeah.
Well, what if when he hung himself, the life of him flashing before his eyes was just him living his life on the island?
Yeah.
I mean, I know this is just, probably stupid poppycock booking, but what if he did die when he hung himself?
I mean, that's a big possibility behind what the writers were trying to put out there, but at the same time, if you're taking it for face value, it is what it is. The rope broke. If you're taking it as in kind of thinking a bit more about it, then maybe it didn't. Maybe he did actually, because I mean, he didn't mean to slip off the cooler.
Right.
I mean, that's 100% obvious, especially once he's seen Radcliffe's body, for that matter, or Manny's body, for that matter. Pretty much he was like, oh, okay, and then he just lost his balance and gone from there. So, luckily the his weight snapped whatever he is using, towels or blankets or whatever.
For everybody who's just now listening to us, or who haven't listened to us before, Ed, you're a huge Harry Potter fan. I mean, huge, like you're a huge Potter fan.
I'm big into the lore.
Right. You have all the school, like Gandalf.
Okay, hold up. You're about to piss off two different factions. Yeah. Dumbledore.
No, well, I'm talking about
Hogwarts.
I'm talking about the little branches that they have.
Gryffindor, Hufflepuff,
Gandalf, Gryffindor. Okay.
Gryffindor, Slytherin, Hufflepuff, and Ravenclaw.
Ed has all those tattooed on his back, if you guys didn't know. So he's a huge Harry Potter fan. But let's talk about Daniel Radcliffe for a little bit, because we personally on this podcast haven't talked about him since last year.
Yeah, when we did Sorcerer's Stone.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
or wait, no.
Yeah.
No, yeah. We did Guns Akimbo before that.
We didn't do Guns Akimbo.
No, we haven't.
No, we haven't. So let's talk about Daniel Radcliffe for just a little bit. What is it about him? Like, yeah, he was in the Harry Potter series, and he was Harry Potter.
Yeah.
But do you still follow his career after that? Will you go out, like, if something hits the theaters, or will you go out of your way to watch some of his movies?
Maybe not necessarily 100% out of my way, but to a point, yeah. Just because, okay, it's even like athletes. Just I like a college school and all that, and some of them, yeah, that they're not on my team, my professional team, but I will follow their careers. Same thing with that. Like I kind of grew up with Daniel Radcliffe as well as the books, and some of it, yes, and I already know with the fandom that some things got misconstrued and all that. So either way, but I personally, I love the books, I love the movies. So yeah, either way. Maybe it's the Hufflepuff in me or whatever. I don't know, but it is what it is. But going from there, like when he done The Woman in the Black Dress, when he done Horns, when he done, all these other different movies, it was kind of interesting because it's like, okay, him.
Did you see him in Victor Frankenstein where he plays Igor?
No, I had not. I did not.
And then he's kind of the villain in Now You See Me Too.
Yeah, I actually liked that. I did like that to see him. And the funny thing is, Daniel Radcliffe is like 5'8", 5'7", or something like that. So he's not. I mean, I'm not much taller.
He's
but,
not a very tall guy.
Yeah, he's not a very tall guy. But the fact is like he actually was picked up out of, I forget whose, but one of the crews, like kids had a play, and
Well,
he was in that play, and yeah, that's how he got the Harry Potter role.
I think in this movie in particular, in Swiss Army Man, I really do think that and I know Paul Dano has to act against somebody who's kind of not there, but really
kind of stiff, yeah.
The way he moved, I think Daniel Radcliffe was really, really good in this movie.
Honestly, I kind of, man, and I might be a little biased, but I kind of got to go with him on a lot of things in this movie because I don't know how much he actually did and didn't do for that matter. I figure he did pretty much all of it, if not all of it for that matter.
And
but
you guys can find this on, if you have a subscription to Sling, YouTube TV, Fubo TV, Amazon Prime Video, Showtime app, or you can rent it from Vudu for $2.99. It's also on the Hulu Premium subscription. This was my first time watching it, Swiss Army Man. It's been out since 2016, so I highly recommend it. This was my first time watching. We still are going to give like a star rating at the end of all these movies, just like we do on Mondays. But man, to me, this is a pretty good movie for the first time watching it.
Yeah.
What did you think of the constant flatulence, if you will, that Daniel Radcliffe's dead corpse have? Do you think it was a little overdue?
Yeah, it was a little overdone. Yeah, I mean, honestly, like I kind of get it in the first part, because when you go through and all that, his body's kind of used as like a sea-doo or something like that, and the internal gases basically were used,
which
as
probably really
propellant.
happens.
Well, yeah, no, 100% it does. And actually,
but the opening title of Swiss Army Man, where he's riding him and he pulls his pants down, and
yeah, I was just
he's
like
riding him like a ski jet. Were you
the
laughing
hell?
at all in that, or was it just like it's kind of stupid?
A bit of both.
Be
a
honest
bit of
with me.
both, honestly.
I really want to know, like through this series of A24 movies, I want full, honest opinions.
Oh yeah.
If there's something you don't like, I really want to know.
It was just kind of, like we said, overdone. Like fart jokes. Okay, there's not much funnier than a fart. Okay, whatever. I'm a fucking child. Okay, I'm sorry.
He is literally.
Yeah, shut up. But it's the fact that like how they used it, I thought was interesting as well as creative to a point. There was a little bit much on some of it, like kind of when he talked about and I know this is jumping way down the line, but did we have sex when you put the cork in my butt? That was kind of like the fuck, So it's like okay. So I mean, in that aspect,
this is almost almost a weird envision of Castaway.
Yeah, I'll agree with that one. It is.
If critics can sit there and look at Tom Hanks and almost give him an Oscar for talking to a ball, what's the difference between Paul Dano's character looking at a dead body, making friends out of a dead body?
I mean, a cadaver is certainly a different thing than a ball. So there's that. But I mean, I've got to give it to Daniel Radcliffe. He literally, was flopping around quite a bit.
Well,
no matter
the scene that got me is the scene where he starts pushing on Daniel Radcliffe's stomach and the water shoots out.
No.
And the water shoots out and he starts like drinking it and he's like, "Oh, I know it's gross as hell, but it's water." What were you thinking?
I guess if you were desperate like that, then I guess that's one thing.
What'd you think of the scene though? Like,
I mean, okay,
was it unwatchable? Was it kind of?
No, it wasn't.
I'm
unwatchable.
gonna fast forward. This is kind of stupid.
Kind of stupid, yes. Fast forward, unwatchable. No, I mean it's whatever. I mean, don't get me wrong. If you've ever seen something like Hostel or The Human Centipede, this is.
I'm not
easy,
talking about like unwatchable, like gross. I'm talking about just unwatchable, like this is not the movie for me.
No, and that's what I'm saying. No, not really. It's kind of it takes its turns and its dips and its fly, its jumps, but at the same time, it's kind of an interesting journey, if you will, because literally you kind of want to know, is this guy going to come back to life? Is he dead? Is he
Well, I knew
like, what the fuck is going
I
on?
personally
here?
knew he was never going to come back to life, but at some point I was like, maybe this is just a dream,
Well, I mean,
or maybe
yeah,
maybe he is dead. But I don't know. I don't know what to think of it from the very beginning, but it did kind of feel okay. There were some parts that was just like, did this need to be in there?
yeah,
Like when the corpse was getting a boner.
yeah, and then it just fucking One-Eyed
had
Willie was
yeah,
just having a good ass time down
it had a
there.
mind of its own, and he was like, when I imagine the Star Wars Earthworm coming out and trying to grab the Millennium Falcon.
Use the Schwartz.
That's what I was kind of thinking of, and I'm like,
Oh god,
I feel like that didn't need to be in there. And this isn't a long movie by all. This is only
hour and a half.
an hour and 37 minutes.
Yeah.
So take the credits away for good and take it out, like you said, hour and a half exactly.
I mean, it's a lot of unnecessary stuff, especially like the. I mean, okay, like why? Okay, going through the trash and getting some stuff set up and all that, I kind of get it. Making
time go
if
by
you will.
fast.
Well, not only that, but making it more of a creature comforts than anything. I get that to a small point, but at the same time, it's just like,
and it didn't really say how long he had been there, did it?
No.
Not even throughout the whole movie, it didn't say. When I first turned on the movie, when I first started it, I figure maybe 3 months, maybe.
Yeah, because I mean, honestly, in that.
But this is the interesting part.
Yeah.
The phone was at like 10% when the movie started.
That's what I was like. Damn.
So if the phone's at 10%, even, I mean, I don't even think a phone can last 3 months, even if you have it off.
So some phones. I mean, I've heard of like standby time, like not using it, so no cellular service, and all that.
Maybe he was there 2-3 weeks,
like 72 hours or something like that.
So if you had a guess, what would you guess? 3 days?
A week, 2 weeks tops. Because I mean, don't get me wrong, he didn't seem like an extremely hardcore survival-minded type person. You know what I mean? Like he seemed kind of like your
average
maybe
tech Joe. If you notice, he did know how to make the rainwater drinkable with the cup and then to take, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
When it was raining.
Well, I mean, yeah.
To take the dirt out of the water or whatever, the filter.
Yeah, I mean, you've got a lot of different ways you can do that, and that's a whole different conversation.
But you guess what? 3 weeks
at tops.
I'm gonna guess 7 days.
Tops 3 weeks.
I'm gonna guess about 7 days.
Because I mean, him just hanging himself, like that's a really, really desperate move right there. So he must figure probably not going to be able to eat. Because
I have a hard time. I mean, I really doubt somebody could keep their phone.
Yeah, not like that. Nah.
And even if he crashed at 60%, or even if he crashed at 100%,
yeah,
that phone is not going to be good 10 days later.
I'd give it like 4 or 5 days max.
Right?
4 or 5
even
days
if he's got
max.
it turned off and turn it back on, that uses just as much juice.
I mean, yeah, it does over time. Yeah. And I mean,
that was his phone though. It wasn't Manny's phone.
I don't know.
Because he was taking pictures of the girl on the bus.
Yeah, and I mean, some of it's kind of left and right because it's almost like even when you get down the line, it's like, okay, is this him? Is he making up a little, alias name? Like is Hank Thompson just a random motherfucker? Like, who is this Manny guy? Like, is the Hank Thompson that we think we know the real Hank Thompson, or is, you know what I mean? It's kind of just a few different things like that, but it keeps you guessing to a small point, as well as with the tactics he uses to build the bus, and kind of explain how he kind of lived his transportation journeys, for that matter. Every now and then, it's just to a point stalker vibes. Like I get it, being shy, being kind of like, oh, I'll never get her because she's out of my league or whatever. I get that. I truly, truly do. But to have her to take pictures and then have her as your background when you have never talked to this girl, to me, that's some stalker level type stuff right there. Like, you know, but I thought it was really cool the different things that they gone ahead and gone through, Manny and Hank for that matter.
Then again, I wanted to sit there and really pick apart this movie. Like, how long did it take him to make the little mini bus?
Yeah, like 2 days, 12
Yeah.
hours, 5 hours. You know, what was it?
Or the scene where they're going through and the Jurassic Park scene pops up. He's like, "You've never seen Jurassic Park," and he starts mumming or humming the
Yeah.
song. It's like, all this stuff is coming into play, and I'm like, dude, you're talking to a dead body.
And I mean,
It's a good concept.
Yeah.
It's no different than like the Castaway maybe.
yeah.
But for somebody to like get that desperate of loneliness and to sit there and lean and talk to a dead body is
And the drag. I mean, don't get me wrong. How long of a journey was this? Like, not even in time, but in area. How
Yeah.
long was this walk or this journey? Because I mean, was he in the Pacific, the Atlantic? I mean, it looked more like he is in the Pacific to me. Maybe he landed in Oregon or something like that. Washington, I don't know.
No, well, it looks
You
like
know.
but that's another thing that kind of puzzled me was he said he ran away.
Yeah. Or no.
Maybe, yeah, he said he
Yeah.
ran away. Maybe there was no plane crash.
Right.
Maybe he just ran to the woods and wanted to stay there.
Probably because
And then the dead body just washed up and he made friends with the dead body. Because the dad that came to see the dead body at the end, that was Paul Dano's dad.
Okay. Real life dad.
No, not real life dad.
Okay.
In the movie,
Hank
that was his dad.
Thompson's.
Yeah, Hank Thompson's dad. And then the girl that they went to go see is the girl that was on his phone.
Yeah.
So they've been in her neighborhood the whole time.
That's just some.
You know what I mean, though?
Yeah, and I mean that's just some extra stalker type stuff right there.
So he wasn't like.
I mean, don't get me
I
wrong.
feel like he wasn't in a plane crash. He couldn't have been. He was in. He ran away, and he had just been living like a homeless man
Yeah.
in the neighborhood behind her house.
Yeah.
So at the end of the day, when you look at this movie, is he just a creeper?
I mean, honestly, kind of, because
who stumbled upon a dead body.
Because I mean, it's kind of like, did you just stay 15, 20 minutes away from her specific house, and it just happens to be on the edge of the water, and you just found kind of like, I don't know, a quarter mile out, you just swam and there's this little whatever. But I don't know. You kind of want to put faith in this guy to a point because you're like, rooting him on through most of this journey. Like, this is a desperate dude. Get home.
You think it's a deserted island, but literally when they're walking after the bear scene, and we'll get into that scene. After the bear scene, he goes to take a piss, and there's the highway.
Yeah. And it's
so if you're stranded on a Pacific desert island hundreds of miles away, you're not going to walk to the neighborhood that you once lived, or the girl that you
like. That's just too
stalking.
Coincidental, right there.
It's kind of weird to me.
Yeah, and I mean, hell, this whole movie's weird. It really is, and I like A24 for their weirdisms, for that matter, because they
There's
actually
some weird
will,
ones.
Yeah, they will go out of the norm to go ahead and kind of.
But it's great storytelling.
Yeah, and that's the thing. They'll go out of the norm to tell something like that. And I mean, this one was a very strange, very weird, very just.
Was it unwatchable?
No, I mean, it's not like this is going to be like, dude, I got to watch it again.
But tell me, personal reasons.
Yeah.
Would you ever want to watch it again? You can say no.
I might, but it would be extremely rare. I mean, it would be almost to the point of no, but it would be extremely rare. Like kind of like how you introduced all of us to The Lighthouse.
So you
Lighthouse,
you honestly have no desire though to watch it again.
Very little, and it's more just to kind of maybe I missed some things, understand it better, but I mean not really. I mean, for what they did with it, I thought it was decent. I'm not gonna trash the movie and hate on it because I do think at least there was a bit of effort put in and all that, but at the same time, there's just like it's a good movie, good story, but at the same time, it's just a very strange concept that like. Why did you have to make this? Why did you spend $3 million to make this? Like, that's strange to me. And it's not literally that it's strange to spend that much money on this. It's strange that it's a farting corpse who can spit a shit ton of water out of its mouth.
So that's another some of
You
those
know,
some of those other scenes that I feel like I get it. It's a movie. You don't need some things explained to you, but
you don't need
when
full logic,
when
but
he was
still.
putting like the
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 rocks, the
the rocks
pebbles,
in his mouth and shooting them and killing birds.
or even the freaking stick, the pole stick thing, and he just freaking made it fly out. I was just like, what the shit? And then
like the batarang thing.
yeah, it was just kind of like, okay, this is.
Is he like thinking some of this up? Because surely that
Or is
stuff
this-
really can't happen.
Or did this dude just walk into the woods and take a bunch of acid or something like that and
There
trip?
you go.
You know
Yeah.
what I mean?
Or do they want you to think that this corpse really does have magical powers?
And I mean, that's another thing right there. It's kind of like, okay,
Is it a fantasy?
I just want to know what caused the inspiration for this. You know what I mean? That's the big thing right there on my mind, is what the hell caused the inspiration for Swiss Army Man? Like, what the shit? You know what I mean? And it's a strange journey, and it's more just,
I will say
yeah,
it has beautiful art behind it.
Yeah.
And the cinematography in the woods. I don't know if they shot on location. We'll have to dig into that a little bit later. More talk about it next week on next week's episode. But in the cinematography of them being in the woods and the mountains just being all around them, there were some beautiful single stand shot scenes in this movie.
there really was. I mean, there really was. A lot of this was very, very good to go on and all that. I don't know. It's just kind of,
Just not your cup of tea, just something. And honestly, after I had a really hard time with the scene where he was on the bus, and honestly, anytime he was cross dressing to playing the girl in the movie, I had a hard time with some of those scenes.
I mean, like, I kind of get he's trying to put out like what he would go through, or at least what he perceived he gone through on a daily basis, through his transportation journeys and all that throughout his life. But at the same time, it kind of seems more like a stalker's fantasy of like, this is how it's supposed to go, this is how you should do it. And it's like, okay, but why are you teaching this when you can't do this yourself?
I did have some really uncomfortable times during this movie,
Like,
and I've seen some shit.
no, yeah, I mean,
we talked about
we
Midsommar
both
last
kinda-
year.
I actually like that.
No,
though,
I like
you
it.
know?
I like it too, but we have seen
It
some
was
shit.
weird.
Yeah.
But yeah. Lighthouse, I'd argue to a point, is worse in some ways than Midsommar. But yeah, no, I mean, don't get me wrong. Like I said, probably the top two weirdest movies I've ever seen were probably Hostel and then Human Centipede.
Don't forget, and it's not an A24 movie, but Antichrist is still out there. People want us to review Antichrist.
I mean, Antichrist is a very strange, very out there movie, but no, it's nowhere near as bad as.
What
Human
about the bear?
Centipede.
Let's talk about the bear scene.
Yeah.
The tree scene, pretty much where.
Well, I mean, they're sitting around a fire and they're talking and all that, kind of like what we're doing without the fire, though.
Well, there's fire.
Hey. But, and then Radcliffe just, is listening and all that. And then he goes, yeah, I was going to tell you, there's a giant raccoon over there eating something. I forget what he says.
That's
but
after Paul Dano, Hank found the highway.
Yeah.
He went to go take a piss, and he was like, I'm going to go pee. And, he stumbled upon the highway.
Yeah.
And then, when that happened, I'm like, dumbass, why don't you just go and run and go get help?
Yeah. And so,
Why do you have to go back and talk to the dead body?
And
then the bear attack happened, and I'm like, oh, you're fucking dead. But
Yeah.
you get what you fucking deserve.
yeah. So, I mean, don't get me wrong. Bears are a very strong creature. Like, a bear can take out a gorilla almost no problem.
Well,
They're a strong-ass creature.
I like how they made it seem like a realistic attack. Like, one swap at the dude's leg, and Paul Dano's leg, broke in half.
Well, I mean, yeah, because, I mean, those paws are freaking huge.
So, when that happened, I'm like, oh, he's dead. This is how the movie ends. He's going to die. Good. Hopefully, I was like, oh, he deserves it. I kind of found Paul Dano's character just creepy, and at some times, and this is kind of weird for me to say, but I couldn't stand the character at some points.
There was a lot behind him. There was a lot that was not in view, basically. Like, he had a huge shadow behind his character, and there was probably 10% in the light. So
Yeah.
there was a lot of lies going on with his character. And that's what specifically stuck out to me, was how much there.
So let's talk a little Paul Dano, if you will. He's been in quite a few movies. We'll go through some of his filmography because honestly, I don't think we've talked about him much. He was one of the nerdy little friends in The Girl Next Door. He was in Little Miss Sunshine. He was in There Will Be Blood. That's where he really got a lot of his acting chops from. A lot of people really found out what he could do. He was in Where the Wild Things Are as the voice. He is in Night and Day, Cowboys and Aliens, Looper. Where I really saw him from, and this has got to be an episode one day from one of the two shows, Prisoners, with Jake Gyllenhaal and Hugh Jackman.
Yeah.
Paul Dano plays the weird, creepy guy that they think is the pedophile, and he plays. I don't know if this is a good thing to say, but he plays an awesome pedophile. He is creepy. He is creepy. He is weird, and he is everything that you would think one of those nasty sumbitches would be. He's in 12 Years a Slave, and then he was in Youth, Swiss Army Man in 2016, and then Okja. And then, believe it or not, guys, we're going to be talking about a lot of Paul Dano this time next year because he is the Riddler in the Batman movie next year.
Oh, God.
Yeah.
Okay, well.
He plays Edward Nashton / the Riddler in the Batman with Robert Pattinson, another A24 alumni.
Right.
So I'm excited. I think he would be a terrific fucking Riddler. What do you think?
So far, I mean, he's got a very weird personality.
Yeah.
So, I mean, that connected with a bit of intelligence would kind of be a fun
And earlier
watch.
When I said I don't like Paul Dano, like he creeps me out, I'm not talking the actor personally. The character in this movie.
Yeah, no, definitely.
Kind of creeps me out. But honestly, this is some homework for everybody out there. You too, Ed, if you want to. If nobody has seen Prisoners, go out there this week and watch it because it is a troubling movie. It's a really nail-biting movie. It's about Hugh Jackman loses a kid on Thanksgiving week. You know, for those of you that have little kids, little girls, one of his little daughters get abducted. And he, just like any abduction, you have 72 hours to kind of really find him, or they pretty much write him off dead. And this movie literally has you sitting at the edge of your seat, biting your nails the entire time. So, and Paul Dano plays a perfect creepy guy in this movie. I can't put him over enough in this movie, to be honest with you.
And that's kind of not a worrisome thing, I guess, but a thing that, like, makes you understand how someone can go and how deep they can go for that matter. Because literally to play that takes a bit of guts. Because, I mean, some people will hate you for it. Some people will literally not let you live it down.
Honestly, there's some scenes in there, and we're talking still about Prisoners, but we're obviously talking about just Paul Dano himself. There's some scenes where you want to go through the movie screen or the TV and just kick the shit out of him. And then there's some scenes where he's getting beat up by Hugh Jackman. And you're just like, kill that motherfucker. Kill that mother.
Well, I mean, he mustn't be that bad of a guy, though, because he's been with his partner or his spouse since 2007, at least married for that matter. So, I mean, he must not be that bad of a deal.
Oh.
He must not be that bad. Zoe something. I just read her name not too long ago.
Zoe Deschanel, is it?
No. That'd be kind of funny, actually, though. Let's see, Zoe. Oh, come on now, phone.
But I really did enjoy Paul Dano in this movie. He did kind of creep me out. Daniel Radcliffe, though, man, we got to talk Guns Akimbo soon because I think that movie, because of the pandemic, I think it got overlooked.
Zoe Kazan, or Kazan, one of the two. But yeah. But yeah, I'll agree with that.
I think Guns Akimbo kind of got overlooked. But so let's talk about kind of the ending, I guess. He stumbles upon her
house,
and we're talking about Sarah, which is the girl that they're both kind of fascinating about through the whole movie.
Yeah, and it's basically actually in front of the little girl, the daughter.
Yeah, and Sarah is played by Mary Elizabeth Winstead, which she plays. She's in Birds of Prey. She's the one who plays Helena. But Sarah in the movie, they stumble upon her backyard. Manny and Hank, her little girls in the backyard kind of playing.
Yep.
And she's like, "Are you getting ready for Halloween?"
Yeah. Innocent little girl. Like, okay.
And Daniel Radcliffe is like, "No, we're just dirty. We need help."
Yeah. So, I mean,
But that's what kind of just weirded me out about this movie, because she was talking to him and seeing him.
Yeah.
When Sarah came outside, he was technically dead, or I guess she just saw him as a dead corpse.
Yeah.
So I don't know what. It's still kind of a weird, trippy.
It is
aspect.
a very strange thing because it kind of comes into play. Is it like the imagination of a kid? That she's imagining the same thing, or
something like Drop Dead Fred.
Right.
Wasn't he like a dead person?
Yeah. So is it kind of like that? Is it kind of just maybe he was talking kind of like a Fight Club scenario?
Oh yeah.
Kind of like that. To where Edward Norton was beating himself up, and it turns out it wasn't a split personality; it was just him. So I mean, is it kind of like that, or like what is going on here?
Speaking of Fight Club, guys, we're getting ready to talk Fight Club Monday, June the 7th. Brad Pitt month continues. So we just got done talking about Inglourious Bastards, which was a fun episode. So go back into the archives, and that was our Memorial Day Monday episode. So go back and listen to the Inglourious Bastards episode, and then Fight Club is this Monday, June the 7th. So, but yeah, I don't know what it was, but Sarah couldn't see him really. He was already just a dead corpse, and she was like, "Do you need some help?" At first, she was kind of creeped out, like, "Why are you in my backyard?" That's what brings me to my whole assumption that he wasn't stranded. If your plane crashes and you've just been in your backyard the whole time, maybe not the whole time. Maybe he was a couple 100 miles away, but he was still technically in wherever they were.
Yeah, and I mean that's the thing. It's kind of like, okay, were you just like 10, 15 miles away? Were you 100? Were you right there?
And then it never really specifies where they lived.
And yeah. Because, I mean, it doesn't specify how long of a journey he took to transport from wherever he was going to wherever he was going to where he met her on the bus. Or stalked her on the bus, I guess, is more appropriate. But at the same point, it's kind of like an explained film.
But that's A24 for you.
You're right.
And it's not a bad thing.
No.
But this one just kind of, there was a lot of plot points missing, I feel.
Yeah, this definitely almost felt kind of like rushed together. Like, okay, we got this, that, this, do this, do that, do this. This is going to be
But the
hilarious.
thing with A24 that I like is they do this stuff on purpose.
Yeah.
To where if you watch something like Batman vs. Superman, they do that stuff because of budget cuts or just being lazy. Stuff with A24, I think it's done on purpose. They want you to sit there and do stuff like what we're doing now. They want you to talk, and they want you to put your own movie together, maybe. Because it's like that in a lot of their movies, man. Like a lot of A24 stuff is just the movie itself, and then you could go have a conversation with somebody about one of their movies and have a whole different movie lined up.
Or even 3 to 5 different types, because, I mean, of course, you're going to have yours, I'm going to have mine, he's going to have his, she's going to have hers. And then combine the 4
like
and go from there.
Ex Machina. I don't know if you were on our Ex Machina episode last year or 2 years last year. But they're all kind of like, Lighthouse. We had an interesting conversation about Lighthouse, how we thought maybe Robert Pattinson had died when he was painting and fell off of the
But with
bridge.
Ex Machina, that was more explained until the end. That was the only part that wasn't explained. So I mean, throughout the entire movie, it was all explained and all that stuff, and it was kind of leading you up to a specific point. But at the end, basically, it was kind of just like, what the hell is that? What the hell just happened? Okay, did she do this? Did it that? What? Kind of thing. So I mean, with Lighthouse, there was several different things that could have happened, but at the same time, it was kind of just like a.
How did you think? And we can explain the ending to Swiss Army Man, but how did you think this movie was going to end?
Okay.
So sitting there watching it, like throughout the middle of the process, maybe when the bear scene happened, how did you think this was going to end?
I kind of thought he was going to I thought he was going to make it somewhere and then die. Like, I thought he was going to get through the bear attack and all that, because I'm just like, this movie has like 40 minutes left or so. He's going to make it through this, whatever. But then it kind of gone on, and I'm just like, he's going to die soon. Like, it changed when they got into the backyard, because it was like, okay, he's going to be arrested for killing this guy. Because maybe he did. I mean, maybe he did kill Daniel Radcliffe's character.
That's true.
You know, and just dragged the body off, and that's why he ran away. You know, to get away from civilization, basically, and kind of keep his name clear to a point. But I mean, I don't know, because maybe he found out Manny was her ex or is her current.
That's
and,
another thing
you
I
know,
want to talk about. When they were going through the phone, did
Yeah.
you hear Daniel Radcliffe was talking about Sarah in the video?
Yeah, yeah. So I'm just going.
Or
What is?
or maybe
you know
they
what I
were
mean?
maybe they were fooling around on each other, even though she had a husband and a kid,
Yeah,
and maybe Paul Dano caught him
yeah.
and killed him. There's a lot of dark, twisted shit that could be behind this movie if you sit there and kind of really unravel it.
I mean, that's true. That's very, very true. Because I mean, honestly,
Maybe Paul Dano took Daniel Radcliffe there to kill him, and then just kind of hung out with the corpse.
and was gonna kill himself, so he didn't have to deal with that guilt for very long.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, there's a ton of stuff that could go into this, but you know, it's kind of like with Hank's father, it was kind of like, why did you just look at that body and you didn't even look? You know what I mean?
He was going to see who it was.
Yeah.
Because remember, they didn't know the name, and Hank's father didn't know that if it was man, he didn't know that it was Manny. He didn't know that it could have been Hank. And they didn't open up the bag. He was like, no, I can't do this.
Yeah, and basically he opened the bag afterwards and all that. But yeah, no, I was just like, okay, dang, dude. Like, I mean, personally, like, it doesn't make sense because his dad kind of seemed like a do-it-yourselfer, you know, not alpha male, but, you know, over the top average guy. And it was kind of just like, okay, personally, like, if that's my kid, I'm wanting to know, like, is this my kid? You know, so I can at least have, you know, all in all, that closure, I guess you could say. Like, okay.
But he probably
yeah.
already suspected that it might have been his kid because remember, Paul Dano ran away and they haven't seen him for a few weeks or months.
Yeah.
So he probably was like, even though he didn't know that it was him, he was probably like, it's him.
Because, I mean, he could have suspected that his kid was a bit of a weird guy and didn't, you know, take to all of his teachings and stuff like that. Because I don't know why, but he struck me as a guy who's like woodworking or metalworking or something like that. Like, I don't know why, but like a decent trade like that. I can't explain why, but yeah.
Yeah, I mean, we're gonna end up. We have so many emails. We're gonna bring the email bag to this show.
Hey.
So you guys send us some emails about what do you think? What was the Daniel Radcliffe relationship like? What do you guys think he killed him? Do you guys think it was just it is what it is,
or a random meetup?
Or do you guys think that the movie just explained itself? So email us and we will transform the email bag into this show. So CINEMEN 921@gmail.com. That's Cine-Men 921@gmail.com.
Because, I mean, then you've got to figure, was the phone Manny's or was it Hank's? Did Hank just find the phone in Manny's pocket and jack it from him and all that stuff? Like, there's a lot of things.
Because you're kind of like you said earlier, why would Hank put that in? Why would Hank put that picture on his phone? He's probably a creeper, but I don't think he would.
And on top of that,
what if that was Daniel Radcliffe's phone?
In my thinking, like, you know, she could have gone ahead and walked up on him while he's looking at her picture or whatever. Why would he want to risk getting caught like that and then get called out, kind of like he did?
And she's not gonna display her emotion or her feelings for that dead body if she knows who he is in front of her husband.
Mm-hmm.
So, and if Daniel Radcliffe was like a mistress, that's I mean, he would have the right to have her on his phone.
I mean, yeah.
And if you noticed, this is going back to kind of earlier in the movie, his wanker was going 90-0 when he saw the picture of her.
I mean, yeah.
He was like, I know who that is. You know.
Well, he was like, I don't know, but you know, she.
Mr. Hanky was already like.
He was like, yes, sir.
We know that. We can.
Shit, we
smells
got it.
familiar.
But yeah, it was kind of just like, okay, your body is already reacting in a certain way that, yeah, so what's the dynamic here? Is it you? Is it her? Is it him? Is it all three of y'all? Is it like, what is the dynamic is the main point of this. So
that's going deep into some A24 stuff, man. That's some good stuff. That's digging in and just unrevealing a lot of these scenes that we probably wouldn't have had time to on one of the main, you know, on the Mondays podcast.
And I mean, don't get me wrong. How did you feel when he took the body in the body bag and the orange pad and just started like Johnny tsunamiing the guy.
Well, at first, when he was trying to push himself down the ramp,
Yeah, yeah.
I was like, all right, bro, you don't need to rape the dead body. Let's just go on. But at
That's
first,
same thought. Same.
Yeah.
I was just like, why is he like
He's getting
dry
it
humping
on.
him now?
But they go down, and it just, I don't know. I mean, he got taken into cuffs at the end, which, man, there's a lot to uncover into this movie.
It's a very strange thing because I mean, okay, you got to think that okay, did they ever identify the body? You know what I mean? Like, who is really Manny? Who's Hank? Is Radcliffe Hank? And Dano, is he Manny? Or is it reversed? Like, it's kind of set up? Or, like, what the hell? Or is Radcliffe really just a John Doe and Hank Thompson and Manny are the same person and he just uses it as two separate, like, entities, basically?
Yeah.
Because, I mean, we've probably all been there, even females with males.
I even kind of thought at first, because this movie can go so many ways if you really want to dig into it. I almost thought that maybe the body was never there at all, and it's just inside of his mouth, his mind.
Right, and
Don't know.
well, like I said, a Fight Club scenario kind of deal. But I mean, that's the thing. Like, okay, like I was saying, we've all been there to where we just see this person, and we're just like, wow, like, I forget who sung. I forget if it's like Bublé or if it was like Maroon 5 but basically about like the person, like, it was beautiful when the angels thought up that I should be with you and all that, but I'll never get to be with you because whatever.
That's
that
some
song.
weird shit you're going through, man.
Well, I'm just like the song. I'm like, okay, is it like an inspiration from that? Because this person on the bus, he's going ahead and fantasizing about and all that,
yeah.
and they'll never really meet, and then all of a sudden they get this choice, weird, coincidental, maybe not coincidental meeting, and it's just like she's freaked out because of all this stuff, and he's kind of like,
you could go, but you could go for days about how this movie can just go, and the relationships, or is there a body, is there not a body, but
you can.
It's pretty interesting, and I think this is a good start to this A24 series. We're gonna get ready to wrap things up here because I think this is a great deep conversation about Swiss Army Man. Next week, I don't think it's gonna be that much of a mind bender. Next week, guys, June the 10th, we are gonna talk about the recently released Minari, or Minari, however you want to pronounce it, but it is the great American English, American Korean film starring Steven Yeun from The Walking Dead. A lot of you guys might remember him from. But this movie, he actually got nominated for Best Actor. I really feel like he did really, really good in this movie. It's kind of loosely based off of a true story about a Korean family moving to the United States, Arkansas to be exact, and starting his own farm. So this is, again, a brand new A24 movie. It should be in the red box. Just got released on Blu-ray a few weeks ago, and man, I think it's going to be a fun conversation. It's one of those movies that was praised to be one of the best movies of the year. Got nominated for a lot of Oscars. Got nominated for Best Picture. So it's going to be a fun conversation next Thursday as the A24 series continues with Minari.
Okay.
So we're going to get ready to put a stamp here on Swiss Army Man.
The bow tie on the present.
Yeah. We're getting into the meat and potatoes, though. We're going to give our star rating, and we are going to see where this movie aligns with some of our other A24 reviews. So, Ed, sir, what would you rate this movie?
I'm going to give it a 6.
6?
The watchability, I'm taking off a lot for that, as well as some of the random factor, like kind of like what you said earlier, plot holes and stuff like that. It didn't seem like there was a whole bunch of meat right there. It just seemed like, oh, okay, what can we do between A and B? Like, to a point almost, I feel like Borat has more of a plot than this, at least more meaning in between A and B than this. But I mean, that's kind of saying a lot right there. But I did think the artistic side of it really gained points. I think, how Daniel Radcliffe portrayed himself and Paul Dano did. I think both of them actually gone really well. But yeah, it just didn't have a lot of that main beef. It had a lot of the potatoes, not a lot of the meat. You know what I mean? Steak was a little thin, but yeah.
This actually turns 5 years old this year. They had a theatrical release of June 24th, 2016. So in just a few weeks, it's going to turn 5 years old. So my official star rating, I'm going to go just one notch above you and just do a 7. I don't know how good the rewatchability is either. I will say it's not girthy, so that right there
Yeah.
kind of gives me some kind of hope. But the cinematography is really, really amazing. I do like the performances by both Daniel Radcliffe and Paul Dano. Another thing is the score. The soundtrack is really, really fun, and it's a fun, different score and soundtrack. So I do enjoy that a lot.
It does keep the energy up a little bit. Yeah. It really does.
So I do give it a 7. Is it the best A24 movie? Not even close. Is it the worst? No, it's not even the worst A24 movie. But just go out there and give it a view for your own. Like I said, you can rent it on Vudu and YouTube TV for like $2.99. And then if you have the Hulu subscription, premium subscription for Showtime, it's on there as well. So check it out. Swiss Army Man. This A24 series kicks off. I think it's going to be a fun watch. I think it's going to be a fun conversation every single week. And then Green Knight, August the 15th.
Yeah.
When that's over, we could get into any other series, any other franchises that might pop up. So email us and see what you would want us to dig into next.
Exactly.
Do you want us to talk some episodes of some television? Do you want us to talk a season of a TV show? We can do anything. So you guys wanted more content. Not only are we giving you more content, we're giving you something different. It's ad-free. It's straight to the point. This is the Cine-Men Movie Podcast. Next week, we're talking Minari. The week after that, June 17th, we're talking the directorial debut film of Jonah Hill, mid-90s. And then we're talking Uncut Gems. The Sandman comes back to the Cine-Men Movie Podcast. June 24th, as we talk Uncut Gems. So this A24 series is going to continue. I gave it a 7. Ed, you gave Swiss Army Man a 6. Is there anything else you want to add to this episode?
No, I'm looking forward to going ahead and opening up a little bit of extra stuff as well as more content. I think, if they're calling for it, I think it's a great thing to go ahead and try and do for them. Because don't get me wrong, without you guys, we wouldn't. I mean, we'd still probably do this with not as many listeners as we have, but at the same time, it makes it more fun to have that big audience that interacts.
They're the payoff.
Yeah,
the interaction is the payoff.
Yes, it is.
No money is. I mean, it's not about money or it's not about income, but the interaction that you guys give this podcast, the shares, the likes, the comments, the emails back, the voicemails, even though I haven't had that many of them, I deeply, deeply appreciate every single eardrum that listens to our voices.
Yeah.
Every single movie review, all the comments on YouTube, Instagram. Instagram is killing it right now, guys. Over 1,700. We just passed 1,700 on the Instagram page. Facebook, all the comments, likes, and shares, messages, you guys are killing as well. The Twitters, the retweets, the hashtags, everybody, I appreciate it from all the way down deep into my toes. This is if this ended tomorrow, if this was the very last episode of the podcast, I would feel like it was a success.
Yeah.
And I would be happy with it.
I could definitely go. Yeah. I could definitely go with that.
I deeply, deeply appreciated it. We just got done celebrating and doing our 3rd annual Memorial Day episode. I thank you for that.
Yeah.
Honestly, if it wasn't for you guys commenting and emailing, it would just be another regular Monday episode. But because you guys enjoyed the war movie reviews 2 years ago, all the way with Saving Private Ryan, and then last year with Hacksaw Ridge, you guys have made this thing a yearly celebration of Memorial Day episodes.
Yep.
So every Memorial Day, we talk about what this country means to us, and even though you guys listening in other countries probably don't understand or probably don't really care what we're talking about, but to us it's something different. So I appreciate everything that everybody does for this episode and for these podcasts and these episodes.
Yeah.
So keep interacting, keep making it as fun, and we'll just continue to push out some more content for you guys. But stay interactive. Stay with us. Keep emailing. What series would you want us to dig into after A24? Maybe we get into some horror movies,
Yes.
and maybe we can get into some animation or some foreign films.
Yeah.
Any kind of series out there. The Ip Man series.
Yeah.
So the possibilities are endless.
Yeah.
But you guys now have 2 shows a week, Mondays and Thursdays. So hit us up. Send us that email, cinemen921@gmail.com. Ed?
This is Ed saying I'll see you on the silver screen.
So, guys, don't forget, send us some emails. Facebook.com/MovieReels405, or just Facebook search the Cine-Men Movie Podcast. Email us and we will share it on the show. We'll talk to you next Thursday as we talk Minari right here on the Cine-Men Movie Podcast A24 series. And then don't forget Fight Club. We're not going to talk about it. We're going to review it Monday, June the 7th. We talk Fight Club right here on the Cine-Men Movie Podcast.
Television facts.